flight attendant.
Because they wear them, yeah.
That's not a good compliment.
At L'Amour Media Versatility, we aim to provide comprehensive solutions to our clients. We have a team of experienced professionals who can help you with every aspect of your media needs. From documentation and marketing to promotion and more, we provide our clients with top-notch quality services. We understand that each client is unique and has specific needs. That's why our team works closely with you to understand your company and event goals and objectives. We are committed to providing the highest quality services in media and strive to exceed our clients' expectations. Our team is passionate about helping you reach your goals and making sure you get the best experience and results. If you're looking for a reliable business to help you with all your media needs, look no further than L'Amour Media Versatility. Contact us today to get started at 252-497-3817 or at www.lamour-photos.com.
The views and opinions expressed by the hosts and guests of Colorful Voices of Sisterhood are their own and do not represent L'Amour Media Versatility, that of any broadcast networks utilized, its advertisers, or sponsors. All content is subject to copyright and may not be reproduced in any form without prior written consent by L'Amour Media Versatility. The views and opinions expressed by the hosts and guests of Colorful Voices of Sisterhood are for general public information and entertainment purposes only.
Now I see that laugh.
Welcome to Colorful Voices of Sisterhood. We are so happy to be back with you, and we have a fabulous guest today, Miss Cindy Edwards.
Yes.
She is an entrepreneur and our local congresswoman. I'm so happy to see her in that role. Miss Cindy, let's tell them a little bit about yourself.
Thank you, Raquel. As you've heard, I'm Cindy Edwards. My day job, if you will, is I own a digital marketing company here in Jacksonville. And my side hustle is now city councilwoman for the city of Jacksonville. Both are roles I enjoy. I've been very involved in our community for years, so this is just another step in community service, and I'm really enjoying it. God's open doors, and I'm brave enough to take them.
Yes.
That's right.
Well, it didn't just start it, because I can remember when we had a conversation at a coffee shop talking about diversity, equity, and inclusion
Yes, ma'am.
way back then. So kind of tell us your story from being a mom up to a councilwoman to where you want to go.
Oh, wow. You got all day?
All day. All day. You can fit it in an hour. We got all day.
Oh, well, I got here, it's a strange story. I'm sure it's one you've never heard in Jacksonville. I married a Marine. That's what got me to Jacksonville. My husband and I got here in 1993. Our son was born in 94. And I taught for Onslow County Schools from 95 to 2005. So I taught in the school system for 10 years. Most of that time was in 4th grade and special education. Really enjoyed that. Not necessarily all the paperwork, but the children and the process of learning. While I was teaching, the last few years that I was teaching, the marketing business that I own now began as a side hustle there. So it started with, the teacher, my friend would come down the hallway, hey, my husband's starting a business. You're good with art and computers. Can you do a logo for him? Sure. And then he needs business cards. Okay. And he needs a website. Hold that thought. Took some classes, taught myself how to build
One-stop
websites.
shop, right there.
Had to go back to school for that one. Took a couple classes, taught myself how to build websites, and built a few. Got that, and then one thing led to another, and now we're a full-service digital marketing agency that offers a whole lot of things I didn't even plan to get into initially. But the market changes, and you do what your customers need.
Oh, yeah.
So we've had to adapt and morph. And then in the course of that, about 5 years into the business, I really felt led to join the chamber, and I'm like, okay, so I joined the Chamber of Commerce and I got involved with the Small Business Council, and then at that time it was the Minority Business Service Committee and Governmental Affairs, and ended up going from the back of the room to chairing committees and being more involved, and ended up on the board for the chamber, and then on the board of directors for the Arts Council, served there for a couple of years, and then civic affairs and Board of Adjustment and City Council.
Community,
Just one thing kind of led to another.
Yes, a lot of community work.
Did a lot of diversity work along the way in
Yes.
in all organizations. So I've been very proud of that and blessed to be able, to be part of that process. It's a high trust process. So to be, in a role where folks would trust you to tell their stories and bring to light needs and concerns so that you can work on solutions together, that's something I don't take lightly. So.
Right.
I'm a fan now. You're very busy, accomplished.
Yes. It's great being in the room with Cindy. Me and Cindy both serve on the Onslow Jacksonville Civic Affairs Committee.
Yes, ma'am.
So we do a lot as far as bringing awareness to the community on events. Juneteenth was the big one that we recently got established in our community. That has been going on for years off to the side, but for the community not to have as much involvement in it as it should. So I think Miss Cindy helped bring and bridge the gap together on that project. So
I might have been a small part of a big team that did that, but glad to play any part I can.
yeah, so it's wonderful. And today we're going to be talking about mentoring our young ladies.
Yes.
As you can see, all of us here mentored at some point in life. And I know a lot of times when it comes to mentoring, you don't know you're a mentee because that young lady picks you for a reason. It's not like you're going out looking for people to mentor, but they select you for a reason. And I can't wait to have this discussion with you, Cindy, on your take on all this, because I'm sure you've done a lot of mentoring.
I have been a
Through your
mentor and a
years.
mentee.
Yes. And especially as a teacher at the 4th grade level, because fourth graders, that's really where I remember is where they started kind of separating which way a young girl's going and which way the boys are going. I think that was the level where I realized, we're not the same.
Right.
All the way down to the
Little
sports we
identity.
could play and the sports we couldn't play. So,
And boys still have cooties at that age.
oh yeah, they got cooties now. Men got cooties too. But that's a whole nother episode. Whole nother episode.
I love it. Yeah, that's a really vital age. Usually 4th graders are 10 and 11, and so that you can look at a class of 10-year-olds and tell that one's probably going to be in banking because he never lets me miss a decimal point, and that one. So it may not be the exact career, but you can start. Their strengths really start to shine, and their personalities are developed, and they have a sense of humor.
Yes.
I love humor. I'm an outgoing, extroverted, fun-loving person. I have been known to visit the occasional dance floor when the Cupid Shuffle's playing. I'm just saying.
And you can do it.
And you can do it. That's
Yes,
right.
You can do it.
I'm elected. Okay. Anyway, when you've got these, that sense of humor, fun-loving, and I like to play. And so I was definitely more at home teaching fourth graders than I was first graders, because by 10 years old, you have a good sense of humor. I could play with the class, crack a joke, they would understand. When you're dealing with first graders, they cry, you know. Like,
Oh, yes.
no, it's okay. No, that was just a joke. But it's fun to watch kids develop and see them begin to shine and kind of come into their own. And even as early as 10, you can often tell, you know, who's stepping up as a leader, or who is, you know, staying in the background, but they don't speak as often, but when they do, they really have something deep to say.
Yes.
It just starts manifesting early. And we see that in our own children. Anybody who's a parent has seen that develop in your own kids, but it's fun to watch.
And all of them can be different.
Yeah.
Every one of them is.
Yeah, every one of them different.
That is amazing how one mother, she can deliver different children with different personality. That's amazing how.
Yeah.
Yep. Part genes and part nurture and part divine intervention. There's just, every spirit is different. Every person has their own who they are. And, you know, I personally am a person of faith, so you're going to, you know, if you don't like God, sorry, this is not the episode to tune in today, because I can't talk without talking about him. But the, you know, who we are, the spirit of who we are, you know, God wires each of us differently for a purpose, for his plan, but we're all different. Each person is unique.
Right. I have 3 kids, and each one of them has different personalities. One is shy but very artistic. One is very sociable, and one is in between. So
Yeah.
it's a good
Pretty much
match.
how mine are. Yeah, all 3 of them have a little differences, but I can see a lot of me in all of them. Especially my youngest one, she does a lot of leadership like me, but my oldest daughter herself, her leadership is amazing, but she's more of an introvert in her leadership. She want to do the background, but she knows what she's talking about. Me and Corinne, we'll just go out and start talking. Might not even know what we're talking about, but we do.
So, Cindy, what qualities does a mentor have to be effective in their programs?
Well, I'm not a professional mentor, but I can tell you that the mentoring I have been a
in your
beneficiary
experience.
of, and the experience that I've had. You always want to mentor, you know, when I look for a mentor for myself, you know, I always say everyone needs a mentor, no matter where you are in life. If you compare this to athletics, Olympic athletes have coaches.
Right.
It's not because they are bad at something. It's because they want to be even greater. So, no matter where we are, what venture we're in, we need our own coach and mentorship, and if nothing else, accountability piece for that. But when I'm looking for a mentor, I'm often I want someone who's ahead of me in the journey. I want someone who is going to hold me accountable. I don't need a yes man in the room. I need someone who's going to challenge me and say, you know, when you did that, don't do it again. You know, you want the honest critique. And I also look for someone who has a like value system. It's really hard to come from very, very different ideologies and value systems. Now, anyone who is good at their craft can be a good coach and mentor, even if you don't, you know, agree on everything. But there's just a more comfortable fit if you do. And since you're trusting a mentor with your life or your aspirations or your career goals, there's, you know, a trust and confidentiality involved. The better the fit, the more comfortable that will be. So I like to find someone who's, you know, principled values kind of align with mine, and they understand where I want to go as a person.
That's a good point, because me myself, I want to have someone also as knowledgeable as me. If I'm here, I want somebody
That's right.
that way they can mentor me.
If everybody's in the same room, being on the same level, nobody gonna move up.
Grow.
You always want somebody that's always up, so you got something to.
If you're the smartest person in the room, you're
Get out of the room. Get out of that room.
Move to a different room. That's right. Yeah. And I think as a person looking for a mentor, in my case, so most people know I grew up in the Marine Corps. I spent 26 and a half years in the Marine Corps. And having a female in a leadership position in the Marine Corps when I was growing up was non-existent. So I didn't see my first female sergeant major until I was a staff sergeant in the Marine Corps. So it was very few women to look up to when I was growing up in the Marine Corps. So when I made it to the top as a sergeant major, it was very lonely there. It was very lonely because there wasn't as many other females in leadership positions. And I think it's important for females to have other females to help guide them and
Yes.
lead them, because we understand each other a little bit better. So I think in that aspect, I grew differently because of that, because I had to kind of find my own way. But it would have been great to have those leadership women in place so I could follow them and get guidance from them. But sometimes when you're the first breaking into a position, it's very difficult.
Yeah.
Can be.
But
They
you
say it's
broke-
lonely at the top for a reason, right?
Oh yeah, it was lonely.
But you broke the ceiling for somebody
But
else.
yes.
You know, that's a good
Yes.
thing. You broke the ceiling.
But knowing you,
Yeah.
Raquel, you have a great leadership.
Yes.
You do.
I
I
mean,
always.
since the first time.
Yeah,
I
I'm
met
always
you.
looking up to
I
you.
look up,
I look
up
all-
to you guys. First time I met Agnes, it was the event. Like when I walked, I saw empowering. That's how I see. So I know you through to social media, but we never met. Like, wow, I have work to do. I want to look up to you. I admire Raquel. You are truly leader. That's the people that I want to follow. I was not there. By watching you guys, I'm like, okay, those are the people that I want to follow, and I can learn something from it. Because a lot of people, they don't want to do that. You know, a lot of women, it's kind of like ego and jealousy sometimes. And to me, like, it empowered me when I see women that really do well.
Yeah, and I think that's important as we mentor young women, because a lot of times you don't know you're mentoring somebody. They're watching from afar.
They're
yeah.
just watching you too.
Yeah. So when a young lady comes up to you and inquires about you and what you're doing, you know, I definitely want to put out there, please don't take offense to that at all. That's probably someone who's been admiring you from afar and just
Exactly.
got the courage to come up to you and start talking to
That's
you.
true.
That
That's
is
true. That is
actually
so
that's
true.
really good. And you never know. You see, sometimes we look people down. You never know who that person can be. You see, we are
Who they
getting
are.
older.
That's right.
They are the next generation come after us. And by just watching and helping one another to see one another grow, it should be always priority as mankind. Because sometimes people look at you like you're here. You don't know that person if they can be there, even maybe in front of you.
Oh, yeah.
And yeah, go ahead.
I was just say amen to treating everyone with dignity.
Equal,
They say one of the best ways to judge character is to sit with someone at a meal and see how they treat their server.
Exactly.
You know, it's how you treat
And that is so
everyone
true.
that matters. It's not just
Yes.
people with a title or
Exactly.
with power in a situation. You want to be sure that you are treating everyone with respect and
Respect.
dignity. Not
So
only
they
because you don't know where they're going, but they're
Exactly.
already of worth.
Also,
And
the
saying that-
title can be taken away.
Oh,
You see,
yes.
we cannot depend on the title. It comes sickness. You never know. You can have money today. You can lose tomorrow. So people, how you treat the humanity you show, that's the thing that's going to take care of you. Actually, it's going to bury you if you die.
Amen.
So
So the smartest person I always heard in the school system is a custodian. They know ins and
know
outs
everything.
of everything. They know it all. So you like you said, you got to be mindful. You got to treat everybody right. Everybody with respect.
That's it.
You had some goals, and I know you got a daughter that you raised.
Yes,
right?
ma'am. Very proud of
So
her.
yes, beautiful. And I have to say, you're taking on your looks on your mom even more now. Tell me about raising strong girls. How you was like with your daughter.
Yeah, raising strong girls. I think we spoke briefly before we came on the session, and raising strong girls and mentoring strong young women are two dovetailed subjects, because really the mentoring and the preparing can begin and should begin as early as possible. If we want to have strong leaders, we need to raise strong girls. In my case, where we were discussing earlier, my daughter was very much like me in interest and very much different from me in temperament. I am an extrovert. She is an introvert. I am going to walk in like I own the room, and she was hiding behind my leg when I did. And we spent a lot of time, kind of coaching her out of her shell. Some of it comes with maturity and with age. But we did some very specific things. Like I remember one case in particular, she was wanting to try out for a musical in her school, in middle school. And I made her stand on the opposite end of a 10-foot rug from me in our living room, put her hands on her diaphragm, and I stood on the other side, and I made her yell at me until she could feel her laugh, and then yell, okay, now speak louder, until she was actually using her full voice and said, like I'm across a football field, I want to hear you, because she was timid And so to make that much volume was a foreign feeling for her, but she needed to be able to project. So I just literally coached her in like, this is your diaphragm. Got to put it there for a reason.
Yeah.
You can use it. You don't need a microphone.
And I love
That's
that
awesome.
you prepared her for what she was going to be going into. Vice her going there and trying to figure it out on her own. Kudos to you
That's
for
awesome.
that.
Grace.
Yes.
Grace and love. If you can see what's coming, you want to help, right?
Yeah. Do what you can to prepare them for what they're going to be going into.
And also the relationship between you and your daughter is amazing.
I love it.
Because a lot of times when we say something about our daughters that need to do this or do that, they don't even listen because, see, their relationship is not there.
Well, I think
And
it was
so-
a generation with you because I know you and your mom was really close.
Yeah, she had two moms,
Yes.
my mother, her grandmother, and me, both living in the home her entire life. So she was raised by the two of us.
There you go.
So she was double blessed to have me and grandma, inputting and blessing her and speaking into her life all the time and encouraging her. But she's a sweet young lady. Not every child is different. You know, our son, I was constantly telling him, get off the back of the couch. You can't climb that. I mean, it's just a different experience. Jessica, when she was born, she may shoot me for this later, but she was like at 2, I could take her to a ladies' lunch and put her in a high chair, and she would sit there like a little lady the entire time. I didn't ever have to teach her how to behave. I had to teach her to come out of her shell. It was just a different process. If she had been an extrovert, it would have been a whole different set of guardrails. Like, okay, out is good, but don't go out so far that you run off the road entirely and we have to forge a new path.
Yeah.
Pull it back in just a bit, sister. Pull it back in, And, so
And that's
it's
really
different.
understanding who that person is. Build on their strengths, and then identify their weaknesses. And like Agnes mentioned earlier, you got to be honest with them in that aspect. It reminds me of American Idol. People on there singing because their mom told them they can sing, and you're listening like, oh man, your mom did not do you justice. So as mothers, I think that's something that we got to be honest in our children to make sure they're better.
Yes.
I was I had a conversation with my husband. We were talking about something, and then about grades. When the B+ or A+. Don't tell your kids, oh honey, you did such a great job. C, B. Don't say that. I mean, I'm against with that because while they're growing up now, they need to know the truth. You don't baby them like that. Just say, you know what I mean? In the Philippines,
Unless they're coming from an
parents-
F and a C is an improvement,
Right.
then you rave about the C.
Right.
But
And
not
if
the
they've
spot,
done the
not the
best that they
C or B.
could do, if they have done the best that they could do. But I agree with you. I always push for
I
better.
don't.
Push for better.
I agree with you what you're saying. If we don't tell our children in the house, because life in some people really they don't really, even when you have all the credential, everything that possibly you have to be succeed, there's still people trying to pull you down. I think that's necessary for to be true to our children when they go to real life. Some people really don't care if your feelings are hurt or not.
That's right.
So what I'm saying is, while they're young right now, you're gonna tell them the truth. You're gonna because the rejection right now, when they grow up, it's just gonna be easier for them.
Truth
Because
and love.
A lot of
The book
A
says,
lot-
speak the truth
yes.
in love.
a lot of young ladies right now, they are low self-esteem, and what that leads to depression and all this.
Yeah, and
You're right.
so that is the same thing. I have my daughter. She's beautiful. Like, I believe that God really gave me as better me. And sometimes she look at me, Mom, you trying to live through me? I say, maybe so. You have things I didn't have, and I am so grateful for that. And I really truly believe that she's been given to me for a reason. And He chose me to be mother to my daughter. When I talk about her, I tear because she is such a good, like you said about your daughter, that's how she is. She's early college. She's only 14. I'm just so proud of her. Like, some things that she's like, her hair, you beautiful, Yasmin. Just know that. And now she go natural, like she just do afro, whatever. Like, I'm like, that is, I push her because every time I look at her, I tell her, do you know you're beautiful? You are unique. Just know that. And she is. I tell her, embrace what you have. This is you. This is complete you.
A lot of times they're forgetting that because they usually compare themselves
To others.
to other people at
Yes.
school. So.
Yeah.
And I think that comes to the mentoring side of it. When you're mentoring a young lady, is a lot of times that's something that they have to overcome is that low self-esteem. So how would we do that for a young lady who's got low self-esteem?
Well, it all begins with truth. I love that the whole capacity to speak the truth. As I warned y'all, I'm a Christian. I'm a faith person. So the Bible says to speak the truth in love. If I lie to you, I'm not doing you any
That's
favors.
right.
But if I'm going to speak the truth to you without hurting you, life is tough. The world is harsh. Everybody's going to face obstacles and the haters and all the things that are out there. And in the digital world we live in, it's on steroids. So we don't have to make it harder for our children. They're going to hit hard all by themselves. Life's going to take care of that. But we can speak the truth in love so that we don't harm them, but we prepare them. So you want to provide and you don't want to set expectations without providing strategies and support systems to help them be successful. Saying, it'd be great if you got straight A's is amazing, but if you want your child to have straight A's, then you need to start when they're 1 and 2, taking them to places they can explore different things, hands-on science, start reading, read to them. There's things that we need to do to empower that child to be academically prepared to be successful. Much as you wouldn't send a business owner, okay, here's a business, go run it. You would not do that without teaching them some fundamentals of business. You wouldn't expect them to step into a leadership role and be successful. I didn't step into city council without orientations with every single department and a class of basics from the School of Government. Have I learned everything in that preparation? No. Am I still learning like a crazy woman? Yes. But I wasn't sent in with no preparation, right? You want to send your child in to be successful with some preparation. And, it's courage and confidence come with the preparation and the coaching and experience. There was an incident we talked about a little bit earlier, and I'll share it with our guests here. My daughter, at a very young age, probably 3 and 4, maybe 4, she's about 4. We had a next door neighbor that lived right next to us who was a little bit older than my daughter. She's 2 years older. She was a very strong personality, and as I told you, my daughter was a little more on the timid side. And so we would have situations where our neighbor, we'll call her Tina, that's a safe thing to do. She's no longer here, she's a sweet young lady, but we had a little period of growth for both of them. Well, Tina would talk my daughter into doing things that my daughter didn't really want to do, but she would acquiesce rather than fight over it or give in. She would be submissive and let it go. And I knew that Jessica, my daughter, needed to be able to draw boundaries for herself, and she had to have a little more courage and confidence, and that would build her self-esteem. So when we first talked about it, I would bring her in the house and I would say, what are you guys doing? We're doing such and such. Was that your idea or Tina's? It was Tina's. Is it really what you want to do? No.
Yeah.
Okay. Did you tell Tina that? No. So what do we need to do? Tell Tina. Okay. So we'd go back outside and we'd have a very, it wasn't a hateful conversation. I'd say, Tina, Jessie has something she wants to tell you. And so while she's 4 years old talking to a 6-year-old, she didn't know I was doing this, but I stood right behind her. So that 4-year-old's words to the 6-year-old had the physical present backup of mom. And I have teacher face when I need it and mom face when I need it. You know what I'm saying? So I wasn't being mean, but I was very present. Yeah. I'm paying attention to how this conversation goes. And then they'd go back to playing and they'd decide something to do together. And, I'd walk out of it and stay out of it as much as possible until I saw something else. I'm like, was this your idea or Tina's idea? But as she grew in confidence in that, she got less and less afraid of saying what she was comfortable with and not comfortable with and drawing a boundary for herself. And we're beginning at age 4, I'm standing right behind her.
Right.
By age 5, I'm over on the patio. And by, maybe 6, I'm in the house looking out the window, just making sure they're still good. And she would come to me if there was a problem. I didn't have to eavesdrop on the playtime, and so it developed in her greater confidence. And so you can see that. And everything is a journey of trial and error. If you don't fail, you're not growing. So you have to try, and it's going to feel foreign. It's going to be out of your comfort zone. This one example, but it plays into all of it. Our confidence is grown by our experiences, our trial and our error, and the learning we gather as we go. So one of the tips I brought with, I got a list of tips, but one of them is fail forward and find the nugget. Like, you're gonna fall, it's okay. A single failure doesn't make you a failure. It's just something you failed at. Okay, great, it didn't work. What nugget can you take out of this
Where you can learn
for next
from it.
time? You know,
Yeah.
what's the lesson? What's the good thing that came out of this? There's always good in something.
And I like what you did. It's like an age progression.
Yes.
It's like you building the confidence for her. That's is what happened most of the time. We don't tell people if we don't learn from very young age to tell people that back off or no, I'm not doing what you tell me to do. You know, that kind of she's developing that.
Yes.
And until this day, there are people that like if I say something, that person's not gonna like me. If I speak the truth, that person might not like me or they don't want to be friends with me. And then people they're just gonna step on you until they break you.
And
So
how many
truth in
women
love.
just get pushed into things they don't want to do and don't really like because they
Yes.
don't stand up for themselves and say, no, I don't want to do that.
Not, I don't want. It happened to me. It really happened to me, and I tell my daughter it's okay to say people like no, I'm not doing it. If somebody stand on your feet and tell them please, you are hurt me.
Yep.
Thank you. You see, it's way to say please.
No
I'm
is a
not okay with that.
powerful word.
It's okay
That's
to
not-
say. It's okay to say no to a bigger yes, which is
Yeah,
yourself, your
I'm
family.
like no, I'm not okay with that, and this is hurting me, and it's.
But she
always
was
way.
actually, she was there. And sometimes now in this day's age, parents are not there. So she was actually able to be there to help her go to the different levels. There's so many absent parents now that don't know kids are raising themselves. So when we go back to the mentorings, how do we get there? Because now your daughter was, she probably can mentor somebody now. I don't know what role she's playing now. But she, can there because mama was there for her to tell her. Sometimes my girls are telling me, Mama, boundaries. Sunday is your time. Don't answer the phone. So that it's just funny how the roles are reversed.
They do change over
yes.
time.
Yeah.
And that's normal and healthy. My daughter, who's now 16, shouldn't be leaning on me to do anything for her because by now she should be able to do everything for herself. And I'm now her life coach when she's got a big decision. I'm not
right.
her, hey, mom, can you get this or what's for, like it's just
Yeah.
one of the tips. Never do anything for your daughter that she's capable of doing for herself.
That's good.
That's
Train
good.
them to be independent thinkers and independent doers. It's not, it's always good to ask for help unless you don't need it.
Yeah.
That's good.
Ask for help
That's good.
every time you need it, but don't ask for it if you don't. Do what you can do, and when you need help, ask. That independent drive will take, especially if you see in your child potential for leadership, which really and truly everyone can have at whatever level you are. There's, your sphere of influence might be a little bit bigger or smaller than someone else's, but we all touch lives and we all influence others.
Yes.
And, a hallmark of leadership is whether you want to or not, every time you turn around, somebody's behind you, pay attention to that.
Oh, yeah.
If on the school project, it's your child that ended up knowing what to do and kind of coordinating the group, or, whether it's assigned or they just naturally roll out to that spot, that's an early sign of leadership ability.
Oh, yeah.
And so pay attention to those things and just kind of be tuned in. But like my son, I went back to work when he was 5 weeks old. I had to get a friend to watch him till he was old enough to go to daycare. So, working moms, it's difficult. I understand it.
Yeah.
With my daughter, I was working from home, so I had to work, but I could flex a bit, and she was still there with me, which made, my heart happy and definitely made it a little easier.
Yeah.
But it's the kind of thing that no matter whether you've got them evenings and all weekend or whatever the time is that you're together is the quality time that you can instill those things.
Yes.
It's not always a matter of how much time, it's a matter of what you do with it. And it takes work from both parties. A mentor has to put in work and the mentee has to put in work. So whether you are training a young leader in business or anywhere else, or you are raising a daughter that you want to be strong, it's going to take work. And it may take turning off the television and you're exhausted or you're tired and you don't want to go stand on the rug and yell at each other. But if you don't go stand on the rug and yell at each other, she won't be ready for her solo.
That's right.
So you get up and you go because you love that person and you want to invest and you want the best for them.
Exactly.
And I would love to take credit for this quote, but I'm totally stealing it from Pastor Miriam at my church. She said, our ceiling should be their floor.
Wow.
And I took opportunities. My daughter's heard that quote because I have used it and Pastor Miriam has said it. But I took opportunities to show in our family tree where my grandmother got, where my mother reached, where I am, and where you're starting.
That's good.
Like I drew the line wherever I could. I couldn't go back farther than my grandmother because she was adopted, and I don't know. But we went, down that path, and not all at once, but over the course of time. Hey, did you see? Mommy was the first one to finish college. Grandma was the first one to take a couple courses. Your great grandma finished high school, but look. Now you're looking at starting with a college expectation, and you have a career path. Like you're thinking about this or that, and it's not just schooling. That's one way. It's other things too. Your great grandmother, my grandma, was basically farmer and housewife and worked at home. Very simple life to raised a family, which was her mission and call, and is the most important thing I think we can ever do for the future of our world. Then my mother, her grandmother, was home with us till we were 16, worked after we were teenagers. With my children, I was working when they were in car seats right away. But we have accomplished some really neat things, and we've done some things. There's always a give and take. You only have 100% to give. You cannot give 400%. You don't have 400%. So the myth that you can do everything with 100%, it is a myth. The more you take on, the less you give everything. And sometimes to say, no to one thing and yes to another is very powerful. I taught my daughter very much to say the word no, because in our family history, I could see where there wasn't a strong use of the word no. And then it became a little stronger, and I wanted her to be empowered to say no. And, even in preschool and pre-K and kindergarten, right? I'm thinking, I want this young lady to be able to tell a young man no at college and say it with such confidence he dare not cross that line, right? So I'm thinking long term for my daughter.
Right.
When she's telling our next door neighbor, I don't want to do that, I'm thinking that's, say no to drugs at some point.
Right.
Yes.
Right?
That's right.
And we made a choice. This may be controversial for a lot of people. I'm not asking anyone to do what we did. But with our children, we did the whole Santa Rudolph fun stuff, but we never told them Santa was real and that their presents came from Santa.
Yeah.
My reason for that was that I did not want them to find out at a later age that I had lied to them.
Exactly.
I wanted my daughter and my son to know, and this was personal. This is not right or wrong. I'm not judging anybody, and I'm not asking you to do what I did, but just one kind of extreme example from our family. I didn't want them to come to me in elementary school or middle school when somebody was, and have any question in their mind if I was telling them the whole truth. Like, if it hurts, I'm going to say it as kindly as I can, and I'm going to say it age appropriate, and I'm going to give you what you need to know, maybe not a whole lot more, but I'm going to tell you the truth.
That's right.
I love that. I think that
awesome.
they should, if we start lying to them, even to make things as cultural or belief system, and to just make it follow everybody what is doing, they're gonna grow up saying, "Oh, my parents, they were lying," So what example are we setting for them?
It's okay to be fallible, but not be false.
Yes. So this is where it came from. We can explain to them, but if we plant to see that deep, untrue stuff to them, they're gonna take that subconsciously, Then, my parents all the time they lied. What else they lied to me about?
I didn't want them to have that question.
Yeah, so that is very important to really and tell our family, start with family. But I would really like to ask you, what about for those children that they don't have family? Like they are children that foster care. They are children that raise themselves. And I really like, what is hope for them? Like a lot of them, they found themselves, there are a lot of children that lost. They redirect, they find themselves, right? So what is the hope for?
Well, I would say God, but in addition to finding whatever faith works, is the father to the fatherless. So I will say, plugging in, many times people find family in the Marine Corps. They find family in school groups. They find family in a church family. Everyone has the need to belong. Whether it's a close circle of friends or a family unit or a group that you adopt as your family. And I have friends and associates that are closer to me than my blood relatives in many cases. I have family that I only talk to once every 2 or 3 years. Some of them I haven't talked to in 10 years. But sometimes it's not your biological family. Sometimes it's the person that crosses your path that is the mentor for you. And we find our mentors on our journey. And we find those we can mentor on our journey. And if we stay open to finding a mentor and being a mentor, you know, I've heard it said, you know, we should have one hand up and one hand back. I hate to use an up and down, you know, maybe forward and but like, you know, one hand up for us to learn. Who can I grow from and with, and then who can I help grow? Because even though I'm only part way there, I've come some ways. So somebody who's on day one of their business, or day one of public service, or day one of raising a child, I've done 20 years of some of that stuff. So I'm not perfect. I don't know all of the answers, but I've got 20 years worth of, hey, avoid this pitfall and this might help, you know, that I can share. And so if we stay open to being a mentor, I firmly believe in divine appointments. I think the opportunities will arise. I say my husband is the best thing God ever let me trip over. I wasn't planning on meeting him. I wasn't planning on meeting him where I did, how I did, when I did, but I did. And I just knew this was one I needed to, like I said, you know, him, that him, that him, that him. And so, you know, and I've run into, there are times that you will hear, maybe it's someone speak at an event, or you're in a meeting and someone says something and it just really resonates with you. And there's a feeling of, wow, you kind of just sense the wisdom or the depth or the character and it's okay to be that person, like you mentioned earlier, Raquel, who goes up and says, I really appreciate what you said. That really touched me. Could we have lunch sometime? You know, and you can ask someone if they would consider mentoring you. It's polite and good practice to also offer to help them in some way, even though you may not have much to offer at the time, especially if you're at a very beginning stage. If someone agrees to mentor you, say, well, is there anything I can do for you as well? Because sometimes it's something simple.
Right.
You know, sometimes it's you can volunteer a couple hours for a nonprofit, or you can pack boxes at Chew or bags at Chew, right? But say, hey, you know, I appreciate your time. I value your time. I'd like to do something for you as well. But don't be afraid to ask. Many, many times I have told business owners, because I've worked with a lot of startups over the years in our marketing company, pick up the phone, call someone out of your immediate market. If you are, let's just say, a car wash company, because random, right? If you're a car wash company in Jacksonville, don't call another car wash company in Jacksonville and ask them for business advice. You're the direct competitor. Call someone in Dallas, Texas, or Pensacola, Florida, New York.
Makes sense.
But call someone in your industry that's outside of your immediate market that you're not a threat to and they're not a threat to you. You would be surprised. Find someone who's successful. You can tell by what they say, how they carry themselves, how their business looks, things are going well with them. Pick up the phone, call them, ask them, hey, what you're doing looks amazing. I would like to model my business career after what I see your team. Would you consider, you know, you've got some would you share some pointers with me?
Right.
Could I come and visit your location? Could I get a tour and maybe speak to you for a few minutes? I cannot tell you how many times just picking up the phone or sending an email, phone's better, and asking a simple question has opened doors for people to have all kinds. Oh, yeah, sure. Come on out. I'll take you on a tour. I'll show you I've got my old business plan. You want a copy of that? I mean, people will help, and many times in ways you didn't even ask for. So don't be afraid to ask.
Yeah, some people, like we talked about, they don't like the rejection. They're just afraid of rejection.
Fear will stop you faster than
fear.
anything else.
Yes, it will.
The fear.
It'll paralyze you.
We have 3 F's in our house, 3 F words. We don't use the other one.
Yeah.
We have fear, facts, and faith. And whenever we run into, in my family, we have a generational thing with spirit of fear, with fear in our family. My grandmother had panic attacks. My mother had some panic attacks. And I have a brother who's on disability for agoraphobia. So when I say fear, I'm not talking about, you know, that bear looks big and I now feel scared. I'm talking about pervasive, life-impeding, annoying voice of fear in your head. But we all face fear. Fear is a feeling that none of us is going to get away from it. Whether it's, you know, the monster under the bed, the bedroom is dark and we want a nightlight. It starts early, but there's always going to be a feeling of fear. Part of that is instinct wired, so we stay alive, right? And part of it is, I think, just a bad thing. It's never a good thing to live with fear. So fear will come and fear will go. But in our house, we kind of have, I've done it this way. You're going to feel fear. Feelings are slippery. Don't trust them. Right? You can't base sound judgments on just feelings. You can't base good decisions on just feelings. They're real. Acknowledge it. There it is. You see it. Okay. You have a name. You are fear. But above fear, find the facts. Okay. Fear says, I can't do this. The facts say,
You can.
if I work at it, okay, well, I've done it before. It was on a smaller scale, but I have some resources. There's some people I can call. Okay, maybe this isn't impossible. It might be difficult, but it's not impossible. So go from fear to facts. And then the next level up is faith. So what does fear say? What do the facts say? And what does faith say? Faith says, I can do all things. Faith says, nothing is too hard. Faith says, I can reach the dream, right? So you can talk yourself down by talking yourself up that ladder. Go from the feeling of fear to what are the facts and what does faith say about this? Where can I take this if I'm willing to take the leap? Because there's always going to be risk. And it will feel scary. It felt scary for my daughter to do her audition. But she landed a part, and she was Auntie M in The Wizard of Oz and sang a duet with, Dorothy. So she did it.
Yes.
Was she the main star of the whole thing? No. But for her to get up there and sing a duet on stage in her first production ever was a huge milestone.
Oh, yeah.
You
She's the
know.
main star to the parents. That's where I am. Like, yes, my girl. That's it. That's awesome.
And we weren't, it wasn't all about, oh, your performance was perfect. We said, baby, you did a great job. I'm so proud of you for taking this chance and putting yourself out there and trying. One of the things that we really tried to do, and this is another little nugget, if you can master this one, I think a lot of the other ones just fall in line. Validate your daughter's worth apart from her accomplishments. Be proud of her accomplishments and celebrate her accomplishments, but validate her worth without anything she's done. I'm so proud of you for who you are.
Yes.
You are loving, you are kind, I'm so proud of the way that you honor other people.
Yeah.
Build up the who you are, not the what you've done.
Right.
Yes.
What you've done gets plaques and trophies and moments, but the what you've done eventually end in a closet or in a drawer.
Exactly.
And it doesn't carry the weight of the who you are.
That's right.
And
That's good.
In leadership, how many of us started a leadership journey with first learning who we are? I mean, doesn't everybody start there?
Yeah.
Who am I? What strengths do I have? Where am I? What can I do? What do I do well? What am I wired for? One of my favorite assessments I did in years of coaching and mentorship was the Kolbe assessment. It's Kolbe. Your commercial you didn't ask for. It's a great assessment because it's a measurement of your instinct, how you're wired to process information and circumstances. And you can take it at 18 and 81 and it'll be the same because it's not personality and it's not IQ, it's how you're wired to operate. It's your MO.
Yeah.
So your default MO is always going to be there. It's in you. It's who you are.
Yep.
And we want to, one of the things that I think is wrong with our school system, here I go, bashing the school system. Sorry, guys. One of the things, but it's nationwide, like American school system, is that we focus on fixing weaknesses. Once you're out of school and you're in the real world, if you get around people of wisdom, they tell you strengthen your strengths, hire your weaknesses. We need basic competencies. Everyone should be able to do checkbook math, but not everybody's going to be a chemist.
Yeah.
I hated chemistry, barely passed it both times. Never going to be a chemist, right? Loved biology, hated chemistry. Ugh, terrible. So it was just not my thing.
Yeah.
And I knew it wasn't my thing. So I got C- in high school and a C- in college. And the professor lived in the dorm I was an RA for, so I may have had an advantage. I'm not even sure it was a C-. It was not pretty. But it just wasn't my thing. So I could either spend my time stressing out over chemistry or just get it done for the minimum, get the requirement, pass the course, move on, and focus on what I'm good at. And in the real world, that's the wisdom, right? Strengthen your strengths, hire your weaknesses. So when you see weaknesses in women you're mentoring or your own daughters, acknowledge them. Share one of your own. And then find a coping mechanism to buttress that area and reinforce it instead of becoming, you're not a good speller, you've got to learn to spell. That's spell check for that. Let it go. It's okay.
Right.
We all use spell check. Once you're in the real world, nobody cares if you can spell there, and there.
stress
Just
yourself.
remember which one to use. It's okay that you're not excellent speller. And if you're dealing, we have on one side of our family dyslexia. So the visual cues on spelling, half of our family will always be poor spellers. It's okay. You've got word and spell check. You will survive in the business world. It's all right.
Yeah.
I'm glad you say that about celebrate the accomplishment, but the worth of who they are. This is why I tell my daughter, and you are worth it than anything. I say, money cannot buy you. Anything in this planet, they put it together, it cannot buy, it cannot replace you, because you are made it uniquely by the Creator. I also believe in God.
Fearfully and wonderfully made.
I'm like, you are made beautifully. You are soul nobody cannot buy. Yeah. If that's the case, people will not die. If we can buy soul, nobody die. Everybody will save money to buy, so nobody will die. But I tell her, because of that, don't limit it what you can do, but also know that you are worth it.
And I think that's the first step. I mentioned earlier that I'm from a matriarch society, and that's rare in the world, having a matriarch society. And we really bring our girls up to be strong women, because we know they're going to carry the family. You got to be strong anyway to raise kids. Oh my goodness, to give birth and carry it. Oh my gosh, that alone should let you know how strong women are built. We are strong women by nature. We are strong people by nature, just for the fact that we give life, we take care of life, and we are responsible for so much that happens within a family, especially when you're talking about the emotional side of a family. How much toll a woman takes on in that role, on how much that we're able to carry and do forth. So I think it's natural for women and young ladies to have that in them already, because that's how we are built as women, to do that. Some of them I really feel come into situations where they don't feel that self-worth, and so that's why I personally make sure that I treat every woman the same. No matter who they are, what they do, I give them my time if they ask for my time, because Cindy mentioned earlier, it's the quality that you give them. I may only have 5 minutes, but I'm going to dedicate that 5 minutes to
we
that
don't judge
person.
because of their appearance. Who we want to hook. But ladies, I'm still trying to figure out though, what is the biggest problem facing our young ladies or young women, nowadays? Are they lacking of leadership, low self-esteem, self-worth? What we need to identify what is really that they need.
Gosh, I think that could go a lot of ways.
I know we talk a lot today, but I wanted to figure out how we can help them more.
I think
what
if
is
you
that
get the
specific
self-worth,
thing that
this is
Need
where
me.
you're located, it's where you are, like individually. You start with your family, your community, and who you come contact with. If it's girl, this is individual family. If you go, you can go back, and that has been exist. Like you say, your culture, my culture in Africa, woman most of the time she's belong to the kitchen to do those things, But now we here in this in U.S. individually, and people, they can mentor their children by starting the family, because we are the foundation, we are the primary.
right? But our topic for the day is mentoring young ladies.
Yeah.
Specifically, what would be that one word? One thing that we really need to be out there, reach out to them, and
I think in my opinion, I really think it's that self-worth. I really think it's a self-worth. When you look at our generation, where when we had to deal with our self-worth and worth, it might have been that one bully. Now they got a whole platform of that to deal with, whether it's their Twitter, their Snapchat, their what's the new one now? There's always something new, TikTok. And so they got a larger range to compare themselves to. And as we know in social media, it's not always the truth that is reflected through social media. So they're comparing themselves to something that might not be real. And then for them to have to achieve that in their mind, I think it would really diminish their self-esteem and their self-worth. So I think, to me, with the younger generation, I think they have to deal with that more so than we did.
A lot more, and a lot more in your face, and in greater volumes. It's one thing to have one person say you're ugly. It's another thing to have 2 million people say it.
Yeah.
That's just hard to swallow and deal with. So limiting that time, especially at young ages, limiting screen time and being very vigilant about what your children have access to and what your young adults have access to. My daughter is 16. I have the password to her phone because I trust her. I don't have to go there, but I have it. If I can.
Yeah.
And so it's important to keep parenting at an appropriate level. When she was 6, I chose what she watched. She's 16. We watch all kinds of things now that I would never have watched with her when she was 6.
Oh, yeah.
Like those girly movies. Gotta love a good romance.
But
at this point,
those are teaching points.
yeah,
Yes.
they are. Every single one of them. Is this young lady making a wise choice here? Is this how's this gonna? Let's see how this turns out. Is that really how that would happen? And, you can have conversations around this. One of the things, and we talked about belonging and sense of family and kids. We may be talking. There's such a wide variety. So at a macro level, what do women need in our culture? That's one big question we're talking about. But it is an individual issue because you have one person who came from a foster home, one person who came from physical and sexual abuse, one person who was trafficked, one person who was drug addicted. I mean, there's just the individual stories. There's not a one-size-fits-all answer because you all start from different points. The perfect isn't possible, but progress is. If we embrace the journey, that's part of it. But at the macro level, I think, we have a lot in our culture that objectifies women still. If we had a little less sex and a little more sense in the models and the imagery and the messages, and we need women of substance and women of influence visible for our younger generations to see. Because
I agree with that.
if I can see it, I can be it. I can get there. If someone else could do it, I can believe that I can too. But if all I ever see is, bikinis and less and, on the backs of motorcycles or laying across a car or whatever this, these are some older references, but this kind of thing. Every movie is hypersexualized,
Exactly.
every product is sold in a hypersexualized manner, the majority of them. There's just a lot. And I'm not even talking, gender issues aside, just sexualization. A 6-year-old, 5-year-old, a 4-year-old doesn't need to be worried about what sex is and navigating that entire subject.
At that age.
It's got to be age appropriate. There's a reason sex ed was introduced in 5th and 6th grade. Because kindergarten is not the place.
That's right.
It just isn't. Developmentally, you talk to any educator or psychologist who's got, any kind of worth and credentials, and you're going to find the overwhelming answer, unless they're answering purely for an agenda purpose. Anybody with real experience and training is going to tell you that a 5-year-old should not be focused on sex. I mean, most parents at the common sense level would kind of gut check that one. Right?
Yes.
But in our culture, where we have had now 2 generations or more raised on this diet of constant sex talk and sex imagery, they have a question about whether that's true or not. And it puts children at risk because we're not preserving the innocence of youth. Kind of comes back to the truth in love, right? Life is hard. We don't need to make it harder. We were created as male and female, and sex will be part of the equation. It's just a given. It's a normal process. I talk to my daughter at 16 about things I didn't talk to her about at 5.
Yes.
It's if we weren't having those conversations, something would be weirdly wrong because she is a woman now.
Yeah.
She's a young woman. She's not a little girl, but as a little girl, she shouldn't have to worry about young woman issues.
Right. That's
And so
true.
giving that, just like I stood behind her at 4, beside her at 5, and away from her at 6, progression and maturity in all of these areas comes that way. And so, if we can, I think for women, culture-wide in the United States and Western culture, a good thing for women would be less sex object and more substance, because women have a lot to offer. Women are strong, and it's it's not doing any of us any favors to make us an object or a piece of meat.
Right. That's good.
Also, you say about less sex because that's what they watch. A lot of younger, like they don't have that body to show bikini, or she's inspired by,
Unrealistic models.
Yeah, realistic model. She want to be like that. That makes hard on some people. They not. We create to be that
And
shape.
I think it'll come to also now we are getting more and more women in positions that can make a difference in those areas. We got more women coming up in the film industry now.
Yes.
We're seeing more
Leadership.
producers and directors that are women. We got more writers that are women.
Yes.
So I'm thinking that, if they're going by, morals and values and want to change the
Yes.
perception of women, they have that power to do that for
We
us.
also can vote with our dollars.
Yes.
What you choose to download, what you choose to watch, what you buy tickets to.
Yeah.
Yeah.
If you really want to see a change where you spend some of your money.
That's right.
Yeah, that's so true. Like
That's
what you
right.
say, if women have more power to this area, before it was men doing that, they want to sell more. They want to show the sexy part and
Well,
all that.
still
But
sells.
if women have more access to that, and it is very important to teach the young girl how to dress appropriately. You don't have to show your body for you to be somebody, to be seen. So, yes.
So I think, like you said, women, we're definitely on the rise. Women on the rise, and they're coming out more in all over.
Yes.
But women, it wasn't even the men that started the women prostitutes. You got to remember, it was a
As a
woman.
woman.
So we're coming out on the positive end now, showing positive, and we're working together.
Yes.
That's what I like. We're celebrating each other now
Yes.
as far as a woman, and that's what we need to continue doing, being there for each other. Because I need you.
Rising tide.
I need you.
So Cindy, do you have a website, or how often do you mentor?
I don't have a website for mentorship. I am on Facebook and Instagram. You can find me in a couple places like that. And I'm also, my business website, you can find me through there. If you live in Jacksonville and around here, you probably can get a hold of me without too much trouble. These ladies all have my contact information. How about that? If you want to
got a
reach me,
personal cell
reach out to the colorful voices of Sisterhood, and they'll help you out.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you so much,
Thank you
Cindy.
so
This
much.
was
Thank you for having
awesome.
me.
Lovely day
Awesome.
with you.
Very thought-provoking out there.
Yes.
So thank you, Cindy, for joining us. I'm going to turn over to Agnes because she's got a special guest for us next week.
Yes, same time, same place, 12 is the time. We will have Miss Heather Ritchie, and we are going to talk about spring fashion. So we'll see you there.
So we end our Women History Month with Cindy.
Yes,
This is
that's
awesome.
awesome.
Thank you.
Powerful, absolutely powerful. Thank you so much. I took me plenty of notes,
Yeah.
but I'll call you.
I did too.
All right. And we look
you.
forward to seeing you guys
Next
next week.
Powerful voices.
At L'Amour Media Versatility, we aim to provide comprehensive solutions to our clients. We have a team of experienced professionals who can help you with every aspect of your media needs. From documentation and marketing to promotion and more, we provide our clients with top-notch quality services. We understand that each client is unique and has specific needs. That's why our team works closely with you to understand your company and event goals and objectives. We are committed to providing the highest quality services in media and strive to exceed our clients' expectations. Our team is passionate about helping you reach your goals and making sure you get the best experience and results. If you're looking for a reliable business to help you with all your media needs, look no further than L'Amour Media Versatility. Contact us today to get started at 252